Welcome to Tuscany. It's a stunning countryside filled with farms, vineyards, and hilltop castles. And now a visit to Pieve di Caminino.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Emiliano Marrucchi-Locatelli, and I'm co-owner of this lovely place. We are in Tuscany, in one of the most remote areas of Tuscany, because no main roads right now are crossing this zone. We are close to Siena, we are close to the seaside. We are in the middle of that zone that during the Etruscan age was called Etruria. In this area, it's a typical Middle-Age competition that, the monasteries were independent and they were answering just to the power of the Pope or the Emperor, while the Pieve, like this building used to be, were depending on the power of the bishop. Pieve is like a monastery, but under the power of the bishop, so there is much more bureaucracy. The terrible Italian bureaucracy was born like this. There was a very famous and powerful monastery in the 9th century, nearby here, called San Salvatore a Giuliano. And the bishop of Roselle, who had the power in this zone, invented a legend to build this place. And a Roman soldier, who was a Catholic, was killed here during the Roman persecutions. And as a miracle, a source of water came out. So this place had, a legend as a base, as a foundation base to build a building. And so they started to build a very simple stone church and some wooden buildings around, and a community of monks started here, the Benedictines. And little by little, people started to move from the monastery to this place because of the power of this legend and the superstition of the age. And so, after a couple of centuries, around the 11th, 12th century, this was the only one place in the area where you could do baptism, where you could marry, and where you could be buried. No any other place. And that was the origin of the importance of this building. It's quite typical in the Romanesque architecture of these poor monasteries to use the local stone, which is actually a stone with good mechanical qualities, and it's a stone that you can easily cut with a simple bronze or iron saw. And it's also interesting how these kind of architectures, they match well with the panorama view, because you see just outside here these stones, natural stones and shaped, and then the same stone is inside to frame the atmosphere. The fame of this building started to go down because around 13th, 14th century, they started to found castles around here. And as you can imagine, the castle has walls, has a market, so it's much safer and the quality of life is more high. And so little by little, the monks in the 14th century started to move and go and live in Montemassi castles. And when the building was totally abandoned, they started also to destroy part of the building in order to recycle the stones and fortify the walls of the castle. And fortunately, around 17th century, a community of poor monks started and lived here. They decided to settle here. And their intervention was very important because the roof fell down and they restored totally the roof. And the main wooden trusses that we can see right now, and also the main beams, are from that age. We had just to replace the secondary beams and the tiles of the roof. In 1873, my great-great-grandfather bought all this property and 3,000 of hectares, which is more than 6,000 acres of land around here, and introduced here the olive tree farmland and also the cork trees in the forest. And so it turned this building and the building around here into a very well working farm, and it was a good activity. In 1983, my father received this building as a legacy, and so little by little we started to renovate it, to restore it, to restyle it. And in 15 years, we finished most of the works without any stop, 1983 and 1998. The last 2 years, we worked just on this room here, the former church, 1996, 1998, and by Christmas 1998, this building was ready, and we had a fantastic New Year's Eve party also inside here. Now we, together with our house and together with this main room, which is the reception hall, it's a concert hall, we have a permanent exposition of the paintings coming from my mother's family.
Your grandmother?
Yeah, she was a very strong lady. She was called Angelina, and she was very proud to have a three sons. You know, when they have an exhibition, she was always going there, that's my son. You know, she was very proud to have three sons, so well-known artists. And my uncle did the sculpture. So in a family, two artists, one the painting and one the sculpture. That's a project of my grandfather for some churches around a city, a beautiful city called Bergamo. This one, my father was 19 and my mother 16, so the first painting they did it to my mother. Here you have a portrait of my father. I think this is interesting, from a cousin of my father. That is done in Sardinia, and it's the typical mother working and doing the Nina Nanna to the child. Vanity of my uncle, it's quite nice. My father loves especially portrait. The life of my uncle, that is quite fascinating, disappeared in Manila. He was invited by a general, Japanese, but unfortunately one day, having a walk, he loved walking in the forest, he disappeared. We never have information about him. I took my father around the world also, but he loved Venice. And here you have some Venice, because he said, you know, he really loved to go in the low season in Venice. He was in love with Venice and Paris. My father's last painting, his hand was not so secure, but you have the feeling of the olive trees. That's the old intonaco, when there was pest, that's the old intonaco. They followed the mass through this year. That was the altare, where there was the mass, and the lady could stay here to follow the mass. Because my husband many times found a fresco, and he was hoping to find a fresco. So one night, he found this door, he was so happy. You know, I remember when I took my father first to Tuscany, he never painted olive trees before, and he said it's so difficult color, you know, because they are a special kind of green and silver. You see, on the back they look like silver. It's a very fascinating tree. But there is one of the apartments that have the arch of the Romanesque church, so Periolo. That's all a Romanesque wall. And this is from my grandfather.
Just so many incredible works of art surround you here. The Locatelli family is so talented. They're painters, sculptors, and architects. Here at Pieve di Caminino, you can really feel the layers of rich history. From the Roman arches to the open design that overlooks the whole valley of olive trees. Tuscany is just so magical. The landscape embodies the masters, the artwork, because it is. It's like a painting. And now my version of a very special Tuscan soup. We're going to be creating a Tuscan bean soup. It is a vegan soup. And it's delicious. It's very simple. The main flavors are sage and garlic. But the key is the bread. It goes in the bowl. And the beauty of the bean is when you soak this thing, it expands to at least 2 or 3 times the size. You can tell right there. And a good source of protein. Can't beat the beans. After the beans have been soaked overnight, boiled for about an hour, this is how they should look. Nice and plump and pretty soft. If you take a bean, just squeeze it. That shows you that it's cooked. Ah, nice and soft, just ready to make soup. Delicious. So bop in the garlic. That does it. Simply bop it and peel it. Having a little bit of water on your hands too is good. We have a nice organic Tuscan olive oil, cold pressed, extra virgin. This has a great aroma, and you can also add a little of this at the very end. And then the garlic just goes right in, intact, and just sort of starts sizzling in there. This is fresh sage, very soft, velvety, wonderful aromatic herb. And I like to just give it a little twist and tear. And that way, you're activating the herbs, all of that essential oils are coming right out. And then this goes in also, just broken up like that, because you actually remove it in a couple of seconds. Beauty. So we have the sage, the garlic, and I'm going to pull these out. I'm just flavoring the oil. Just sort of lightly brown it. Right at that point when it's getting lightly brown, you get all the flavor out of there. You actually remove it. It actually comes right back out. Then comes the tomato paste, right into the oil where the sage and the garlic was browning. Now the time for the beans. I'm going to mash the beans now, because this is where you want to adjust the consistency. And with adding them a little bit at a time, you can make it as thick or as thin as you like. Just the perfect consistency. Just a couple of minutes, get a nice puree going. And that's it. Simple and delicious. I'm going to strain the rest of the beans just to reserve the liquid. That way I can adjust the consistency and keep my bean soup happy. And that's the rest of the beans. And again, you adjust the consistency at the end by adding a little more of the broth. Then you just adjust the seasoning, salt and pepper, to taste. A couple of twists of the black pepper. Once this comes back up to temp and simmers for a couple of minutes, best way to taste it, put a little bit in a cup, cool it off a little bit. Now that's good soup. Ready to slice the bread, and just thin little slices. All right, once that comes back up to a boil, we're going to layer this right there on top of our bread. And a little more juice. And then a few more layers of bread. Then to add a very delicious aromatic richness, I like to put a splash of extra virgin olive oil right on top of the soup. Love that aromatic sage. Little sprig on the bowl, little parsley. I think we're ready for dinner here. Well, that's a taste of Tuscany. Wow. Hey, don't wait for me. Cheers. This is the best. Friends, food, and party. I know you can also put cheese in anything you like too. A little in the soup. All that could be heard was the smacking of lips. And it's vegan. Another perfect Tuscan day. Waking to the sights and sounds of Tuscany, another delicious breakfast awaits us. What better way to start the day in Tuscany than a little bit of their local bread and garlic rubbed on gently, and then of course the olive oil that is truly the local nectar of the gods, cold pressed extra virgin.
And we're going to the forest, you find the source of the water which is filling the pond. There is like a small waterfall, stone made. During the last year of the restoration, I was also graduating as an architect, and so it's very important to match theory with practice. This was real practice, because we were really taking the stones with our hand, putting the concrete, mix it with the local sand in order to obtain the right color, you know, in the connection of the stones. And the thing that started just for fun became a real business. So going on, at the end we restored 3 large apartments, 2 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms each, and 4 suites. Every solution has an original fireplace, and they respect the plan of the original farmer apartments, but they are all furnished with our antique piece of furniture and paintings coming from our family. So you have this particular atmosphere of a farmer apartment, and which has been restyled with the taste of our family. Some people, they decide to take this place as a home base, because in less than 1 hour you can reach Siena. In half an hour you can reach most of the fantastic middle-aged towns of Tuscany, like Massa Marittima, Sovana, Pitigliano, Montalcino, where the famous Brunello wine is coming from. This is a fantastic place where to start and enjoy the real Tuscany, because according to the fact that there are no main roads here, this place remained as it was many, many years ago. So now if you go to some place of Tuscany, you know, a lot of things were redone according to the mass tourism, so you don't feel that kind of Tuscany anymore, those kind of tastes when you go to the restaurants. In this area you can do it. It's the wildest area of Tuscany, but it's closest to the most beautiful thing. It's close to Rome Airport, Leonardo da Vinci. It's close to Pisa Airport. So from the airport, driving no more than 2 hours, you can reach this place. And this would be the perfect home base for any kind of tour, even Florence. 1 hour and a half, you will reach Florence. And if you don't like to drive because you want to stay, I don't know, late night in a restaurant, we can organize also a private driver who will pick you up at the airport and will bring you everywhere you would like to stay.
This place is so peaceful. It's like stepping back in time. It really is a piece of history.
Era 15 giorni, 20 giorni fa era una fioritura di rose bellissima.